The Morgan Report with David Morgan.
David Morgan of themorganreport.com for the week ending 3 March 2023. Well, first up from Gary Wagner at Kitco, the dollar continues to be the primary driver in precious metals pricing. It is true. I'm not going to read the article. It's a quick one. Another article from Bullion Vault, pretty much essentially saying the same thing. Gold price hits correlation versus U.S. dollar and real rates, making the argument as real rates go higher will have an effect on gold. As I've said almost every one of these weekly updates, that's true, but in the long run, only if it's above the real inflation rate. And of course, it's not even close to that at this time. Will it have an effect short term? Yes, there will be a knee-jerk reaction probably every time the Fed opens its mouth or does an incremental raise. And certainly the amount of raises has not been that substantial compared to what Volcker did in 1980. But as far as the rate, how quickly they're raising interest rates, it's very quick. And the next article up is about silver. But before I get there, I want to point out a couple things in the general stock market. First of all, the major stock indexes in the United States are holding their 200-day moving averages, and the volatility index has subsided. So that looks like the most likely scenario is we're going to see more up in the stock markets, basis the U.S. market. But the most important thing is that the 2-year yield, so that's the 2-year treasury, is at a 16-year high. That says a lot. As I've said many times, the bond market is the keys to the kingdom. Everything revolves around the debt market. And of course, that is a big trust factor. Will you trust that paper you get back for your investment to be worth what you put in? And of course, as I've said many times, and we all know, that as interest rates rise, the prices of the bonds drop. And of course, the bonds have been hit very hard. And I don't think that's the end. Anytime the Fed increases the federal funds rate, moves it up, you're going to see the bond market go lower. On aggregate, there may be some that move differential, but that's not the norm. The norm is that all bonds will be affected. Moving on to the silver article, silver worst month in 3 years could be just a start. Well, that's not something that most silver bugs want to hear. Talking about rallying into December and then having a 13% loss in February, the worst since the month of, February 2020. So we had a rally from September to December, and then February just fell off a cliff. Chart suggests a break between the $20 key support. Next stop, 1880. I'm not going to argue technical analysis is an art, not a science. Certainly, it looks like the $20 level will be tested, and if it tests to the downside and holds that, that will probably give us another point, and 1880 is as good a guess as any. Basis chart reading. Silver actually led gold higher at one point and then led it lower. It's kind of what I've said a lot. Silver actually leads gold at times. And of course, when it starts down, before gold starts down, it's actually telling us that gold is going to decline. Gold stopped tumbling after it got to the lower 1800s, but silver's continued to plunge, with this month being its worst in 3 years. So a lot of negativity. If you're contrarian, it's like, well, maybe I should start accumulating here. If it's this negative, then if everybody's selling, then who's buying? Something to keep in mind. And if you are a silver investor, silver bug, silver speculator, I would recommend you get this PV magazine. I mean, they're always talking about solar, and solar is about 12% of the silver market now. So it really does have some meaning to get this information. Of course, I provide it almost every week for free. So you can always just, do that if that's the way you'd like to go. This is very interesting. DMEGC unveils the new solar panel modules. You can read about it here. I won't read it to you, but it's multi-layer. I've talked about this before. The one that was really the one that discovered this was Chen Lin, my friend Chen Lin. And he talked about it at the Silver Summit. We've written about it in the Morgan Report Premium Service. I actually alluded to it last month and touched on it this month. And I think the important thing to remember here is the silver loadings on this new technology are more than 50% higher than the PERC technology being used now. And that was Chen's whole point. And they're more efficient, you get more out of them, And there's a lot to the technology, but being upgraded and being better, it does take more silver. What a concept. This is from Miningmx, and this is an article that I want to bring to your attention. I've been talking about platinum quite a bit lately, and I will continue to do so. In fact, we did a feature article in this month's Morgan Report that just got posted yesterday. Implats warns of devastating impact on Rustenburg as Moll's quitting the RB Plat bid. So Rustenburg Platinum was one of the best miners in the old days in South Africa. Impala is kind of the stalwart at this time. But basically what this article is saying is, watch out, we've got multiple problems in the mining sector, and the performance has deteriorated. That's across the board. There's issues with political problems, infrastructure problems, energy problems, and actually the grade as well. So you can read the article if you're considering platinum. We made some suggestions in the latest report on the platinum industry. And to further back up what I just said, this is from Reuters. Sabine says power cuts could lower South Africa's platinum group metals output by 15%. Well, think about it. 15% of a big number is a big number. And 70% or so of the platinum in the world comes from South Africa. So if you're taking the lion's share of 15%, that's significant. Now, if it was 15% of a producer that only produced 1% of the world's platinum, well, that wouldn't really mean very much. But when it's 15% of the major producing area, it means a lot. And finally, to beat it to death, World Platinum Investment Council has this article from March 1st, Platinum and the Circular Economy. Energy transition is mineral intensive, requiring a focus on security, efficiency, and sustainability of supply chains. I just told you previous two articles, the supply chain is breaking down for a variety of reasons. Platinum, a key metal for the energy transition due to its hydrogen fuel cells and proton exchange membrane, PEM. Now, I'm going to pause here because what I have examined deeply so far is that is a possibility, but not a reality. So I wouldn't make a platinum purchase or speculation or investment based on it's going into this PEM electrolysis situation. It may, but so far, not so good. It hasn't really been proven, at least to my satisfaction. I've looked again at it fairly deeply. Nonetheless, this is the World Platinum Investment Council. They're going to, be promotional toward the metal, but without that, the dynamics are really favorable. So you can consider that to be whatever you wish. I've considered to be a non-issue at this time, although I will say that there could be some demand just for test purposes. In other words, trying to get this PEM electrolyzers working properly. There'll be more platinum used in labs to test and try and retrofit whatever it takes to get this technology up and going, if that's possible. Wrapping up for this weekend, I am on the website, themorganreport.com. I pulled down the blog tab, hit that. And my latest interview with Mike Maloney is definitely worth listening to, in my view. Asked Mike a lot of questions based on his new book, The Great Gold and Silver Rush of the 21st Century. We go through a lot of stuff, and I pushed back on him a few times. Regardless, something you may want to consider watching or viewing, listening to this weekend. And I just want to remind everyone that you can get to our social media over here on the right side. So go to the YouTube channel, and I'm going to turn this off right away. I want to point out the community feature here. So that's home, videos, live. I've done no lives. I don't know how much live action I would get. Most people that follow me are probably close to my age. Regardless, here's the community button. I want you to hit that. And there are two things here that I think are worthwhile. Well, there's anything on here I think is worthwhile. I just posted two new ones. One is The Ultimate Gift. This is by James Garner. This is one of my favorite movies, and this is a movie that I didn't know it was free until yesterday or the day before, so I posted it here so anyone can watch it for free. I'll probably watch it again. I've probably seen it 3 times. It's a very, very heart-filled film, and I've always liked James Garner. I'm old enough to know he played Maverick in Gunsmoke. It was a long-running Western series on TV when I was a young man, many years ago. Above that, if you're just going to watch one or don't have time, I would definitely watch this one I labeled $13,000 Gold. James Anderson, I've known James for a long time. In fact, I met him when he was working with Mike Maloney in LA. Anyway, we've kept a pretty strong relationship. He does very good work, and I like the man a lot. This is a view that you should definitely take. It's a little more than 10 minutes. And what he points out is one of the stalwarts in the gold investing on a timing basis is the one that projected, not saying it's getting there, just said basis the math based on what happened when gold went from 250 to 1900. If you use that same formula going forward from now, he's looking at 13,000 ounce gold. So I really like the way that James set this up. It's basically some commentary, which is necessary, but he basically lets the man speak for himself. So I'll leave it there. Again, the premium service article just came out. We go through the longer picture on the market, particularly gold and silver especially. We look at platinum in a hard view. In fact, I had a Army intelligence guy that's been working with us now briefly. He and I batted it back and forth. I got an article on platinum and also looked at the military side of the silver market, which is really unattainable, but we put an article in that was pretty interesting about silver in the military. And of course, we did massive company updates with suggestions technically on where you could get in safely. So that will wrap it up for this week's Morgan Report. This is David Morgan.